Welcome everyone to another episode of the Campus Waterfowl podcast. I'm your host, Derek Christians, and we are on our third trip of our Collegiate Waterfowl tour of season 4 already. We are at South Dakota State University, and lo and behold, this is my alma mater. So came back here, found some students to highlight this weekend, and back at South Dakota State doing some duck and goose hunting. So before we get into the podcast, got a good group of guys here. Want to kind of thank our sponsor, Ken Cartridge, for supplying the shells this weekend to the students. I know they greatly appreciate it, right?
We do.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So, no, they did a good job. We already got one hunt under our belts, so got the plans to go out tomorrow and kill a few more birds. But if you guys are just tuning in, listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you kind of want to see kind of where we're at, we're actually sitting in their apartment right now, and you guys can watch this podcast on YouTube. And then if you're on YouTube and you can't finish the podcast, go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to wrap it up on your way to work or while you're walking to classes. So, but I think we can jump into the podcast right away. It's about, what time is it?
10:30.
10:30 right now.
10:30.
Yeah.
So we're going to get this hour over with, probably get a game plan together or even come up with a game plan during this podcast. And then, hit the hay and then hit the road in the morning. So let's do some quick intros. Let's start to my right here with Parker first. So let's go, name, major, and I guess where you're from.
My name's Parker Davis. I'm from Apple Valley, Minnesota, and I'm going for biology secondary education.
I'm Ryan Lewis, also from Apple Valley, Minnesota, going for mechanical engineering.
My name is Jack Hines. I'm from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and I'm going for mechanical engineering as well.
My name is Nolan Myers. I'm from Hastings, Minnesota, and I'm going for biology secondary ed.
I'm Zach Dilly from Lakeville, Minnesota, and studying aviation.
Sweet. So we got all blue platers here, including myself. But I think one question I always ask the students is, you kind of, I don't know if everyone's aware of where all these towns are at in Minnesota, but they're somewhat close, except for Detroit Lakes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But how did you guys all meet one another?
Well, we all kind of met within the first week of our freshman year.
At Qdoba.
Yep. Qdoba was the first meeting place.
Yeah.
I was later though.
I
met Ryan like the first day.
Well, coming into it, me, Dave, and Zach all knew each other from high school, and then kind of pieced together the team from there.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I met you first, didn't I?
Yep.
Was it at Larson's?
Larson's, and you were wearing your hat.
Larson's. Yeah. So my strategy to finding fellow grinders was wearing my Dive Bomb Industries hat around and just talking to as many people as I can. I was throwing out that I do have a trailer and a bunch of decoys, and I was trying to recruit as many people as I could, and I ran into Ryan first, and it just kind of went from there, and then Dave and Zach, and then Nolan later on. So that was kind of the start of it for us. It happened pretty quick. We were fortunate to meet each other right away. But
Jack was a little skeptical on Nolan for a
yeah,
while.
Nolan was on the fence. He didn't have a vehicle right away, and we were like, this guy
Didn't even have his gun right away.
But he turned out to be all right. So
He proved himself.
Just all right though.
don't get ahead of yourself now.
He proved himself on the
But
first hunt.
he proved himself on the first hunt. I don't think he missed the first time we took him. So
He was on.
Is that how you proved it yourself then? Is that...
I guess so.
Well,
That's how I
that
did
was-
it. I don't know if that's like the curriculum.
That's
or
right. This guy can shoot,
The
so
other
we're going to
thing,
bring him
though,
out next time.
he brought the game strap too. So
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
we're like,
carry all the birds back.
this
in
guy's
one
real
trip.
deal. But no,
If you didn't shoot good that first hunt, you
Yeah,
wouldn't be
I
here
would
right
not
now.
be.
You can't.
yeah, he'd be sulking in the dorm room.
But so, and then what year are you guys again?
We're all sophomores.
All
Sophomores, yeah.
sophomores.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to touch on that a little bit in this podcast because kind of I was on my way up here. I was kind of thinking of like past students I've hunted with, and it's been a lot of seniors, juniors, and even super seniors, and we don't really get a chance to like kind of highlight a lot of the freshmen and sophomores, just because I feel like what I was thinking was just because those first 2 years can be really tough trying to get used to going to college and then focusing on classes and maybe not having the time to scout, and so you don't really build up that rhythm, and I don't know if it's a reputation if you would call it, or just to that level of like that junior and senior grade, I guess you could call, in your hunting skills in that area of acquiring and getting permission and all that stuff. So I think we're gonna touch on that as well. But how are your guys' thoughts on this weekend so far, and what are your thoughts on just hunting South Dakota in general?
South Dakota is awesome.
Well, South Dakota is awesome. Pressure wise, you're not gonna find a state with as low a pressure as we have. There's for those of you that don't know, non-residents need to apply for a lottery, and they only let so many people in. So it's pretty much residents, and not too many of the farmers are hunting, and most of them are willing to give permission. And there's tons of public out there too. So the access is really limitless out here. So it is really setting up to be a perfect place for college kids to hunt. So,
and one thing to mention too is when out-of-state students come to South Dakota, they are considered residents.
Yep.
And so, you don't have to worry about the lottery. You can pay the resident fees, correct?
Yep.
Pretty cheap anyway, so.
Yeah.
This week we've been running into a fair amount of pressure, though. We've been getting a lot of no's this week, which has made it tough, but we got a few things. We were really hoping to get on a good goose feed this week, and every single one we've asked on is someone's been hunting it, or they've had some weird excuse for not giving us permission on it, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So even in South Dakota, there's still pressure, but quite minimal compared to Minnesota. To say,
definitely, for sure.
I feel like it's always just like pretty consistent. You just got to work your way through the nose, and then you're gonna. Yeah, as long as you just keep after it and keep asking, you're gonna find luck eventually.
Oh
so.
yeah.
What are you guys typically hunting in South Dakota then?
Geese and ducks mostly. Pheasants, we try to get on pheasants quite a bit. Next weekend is resident open, so public land's open, so we get an extra day next weekend, or next Monday we get off, so I think we'll probably try to get after the pheasants pretty hard. But
You guys doing field hunting or?
Yeah,
most of the time?
we prefer to hunt fields. We definitely are hunting a lot of fields, and it switches. Early season we start in wheat, and then usually like right about now it's switching to silage, and then some early cut corn, and then it goes to all cut corn by the end of the season pretty much. But we really try to focus on field hunts, but we will do some goose loafs, and then hunting. We do like to hunt a little bit of public ponds too, and get back to the roots of hunting that public water too. But
I'll never pass up a marsh hunt.
Yeah.
yeah,
Me and Ryan are on the same page.
You like the water?
I love
Yeah.
water.
It's really
Water
where it's
ducks
at.
are just.
it's definitely a week to week deal. We're willing to do whatever we need
Yeah.
to do to kill them. So we definitely what we find we hunt. But
The sloughs are always a good backup plan for us. We're always able to find some slough that's pretty loaded where we can really pound
Just
the ducks.
have a good backup.
Yeah.
That plan B, which would be a lot of time a plan A for other people, or just for us in other times.
For other states.
Yeah,
Hard,
Especially
yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
we get a little spoiled here, but
Well, even this morning.
yeah.
And then compared to back home, you shoot 4 or whatever. It's a good
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Two different worlds.
Yep.
Definitely.
One thing I noticed kind of right when I got here, and I got here Friday, we did some scouting Friday night, was kind of your just whole scouting strategy. That was very well put together. Like sometimes it comes on some of the other trips, it's kind of just thrown. I don't know, it's like, it's not kind of just go scouting. There's not really a plan sometimes. You might, just go places and just drive around. But you guys, it seemed like, you had your areas that you're kind of known to go to, and you guys, split up, and you kind of said break and just have at it, and then you kind of calling each other throughout the entire time. Talk through your process of maybe coming up with that, or is there a strategy behind that, or what?
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten really good at that, especially from last year to this year. We've just changed completely in how we approach this.
Just scouting or just
Well,
hunting in
well,
general?
scouting and everything, but
Yeah.
but scouting especially at the start, we were kind of all over the place. Didn't really know what we were doing, but as we pieced it together, found the better areas, we know where not to waste time on, and then also not having people overlapping.
Right. I think last year a lot of us we ended up getting comfortable in different areas and gaining access from permission in different areas, and we get comfortable with farmers. And I think now all of us, we can go into our area and we don't need Onyx or anything to figure out where we're at. And most of the time we're like, oh yeah, I know who this guy is and I know where I need to go to ask on this. But I think we've really all developed our own core areas that we're going to, and I think we've gotten really good at figuring out where our groups of birds are at certain times and being able to key in on switches. Like last week we keyed in on switching to silage and knowing how to where these silage fields are getting cut and when they're getting cut and being able to make those transitions. But that's like last year in our first year we had to learn by trial and error. We were behind on everything, but now that coming into this year we have done quite a bit better with that. So
I would say migration too. Like I feel like this year especially, like we just like we know like cold snap, north wind, birds move in, like they're gonna either be here, or here, and like we know where those fields are. So like let's get up there and try to figure it out and lock it down quick. So
What were we talking about today? Today we realized that when the first snows we've seen come down in the fall, and then the first one that we've seen go back in the spring, we've all seen them in the same little area.
yeah,
Something we just realized today.
we were just talking about that
talking
today
about
actually, because
scout.
we saw a couple snows move in this week actually. But yeah,
it's always been in the same area. So
A big one that I think we've figured out is Jack especially worked super hard last year, early season, to figure out the geese are pretty confined in like in certain areas in early season, and the wheat kind of stops at it and stops in certain points, and knowing that where the wheat fields are this year helped us a lot, and we were able to get on quite a few more hunts than we did last year early season.
yeah.
So that was a bonus.
Were you doing a lot of scouting even before classes started too? Like, did you come back to the area?
No.
We weren't able to do that this year, so we didn't actually hunt opening weekend. But that whole next week, we usually try to set it up. I mean, we work pretty well as a team. We at the beginning of each week, we pretty much talk with each other and kind of discuss like what we have for homework. If somebody's got exams, no matter what's going on, we try to figure out a way where somebody can get out earlier in the week if they can, and we try to stagger our scouting throughout the majority of the week. So
Yeah, like last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe it was last week. Yeah, my car was in the shop. Jack had a couple big tests, so I just took his truck, got out twice, just on my own, in his truck, just because like he wasn't able to go, I was, but I didn't have a car able to. So, just like stuff like that, I feel like we definitely work pretty well together. And
Mondays we usually take off, and I mean the birds have been getting shot up all week, so Monday's usually kind of a day like let the birds
let
get
them
back
relocate,
yeah.
and
let the birds
reset.
get back on a pattern, and then usually we like to go Tuesday, and
Tuesday,
then
as much as we can.
Wednesday's kind of like one or two people go because I think we all kind of have full schedules, and then Thursday and Friday it's hit it as hard as possible, and hopefully have two things lined up for the weekend.
Thursdays are definitely pivotal for us.
Yeah, very.
Especially,
so.
especially this week with the cold front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
we-
cold front that's coming in that you guys have been talking about. That's pretty exciting. I was
Yeah.
thinking that I wish this weekend could
Yeah.
have got pushed, but
Yeah.
no, it's all
Just
right.
the way schedule works.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming from your freshman year to your sophomore year, then did you guys make? Yeah, you mentioned some of the adjustments. What about your like schedules? Did you think of like going into college?
Oh, yeah.
Did you try to, as a freshman, plan your classes around hunting season, or did you do that a lot more this season, or did you kind of fine tune it a little bit more this semester?
Yeah, I think I can kind of hit on that. So coming into my freshman year fall semester, I was thinking I'm gonna leave my mornings open. I'm gonna make as many hunts possible as I can, and I soon realized that you just don't have time to hunt in the morning before school that often. And if you do, it's not gonna be a burn it down banger because you got to get back to class at 11, and by the time you clean birds and the whole process, it takes too long. So going into this fall semester, I decided to change it up, and I moved all my classes. I have 8 a.m.s every day, and I made sure I was done by 1 every day, so I had enough time to go and grind out some studying and then hit the fields in the evening and go scout. And I figured out that just scouting all week and trying to provide 2 quality hunts on the weekends is much better than trying to force hunts during the week that are subpar.
Yeah, we quickly figured that out, and we didn't hunt before class too many times.
No, only
No.
The first hunt he went on with us was a before class hunt, and I think we ended up shooting 20, but we ended up having to go. We took too long, and we ended up having to go by ice and keep them in the cooler, and then we ended up cleaning them at like 4 o'clock after they'd been sitting on ice.
Next thing you know, I'm running to calc with wet jeans because I had a hole in my waders with face paint on, and it just turns into a whole mess. But yeah, that with the schedule thing, we've definitely found that setting it up for scouting is a lot more important.
Yeah.
What about your guys' roles amongst the group? It seems like, you guys have a pretty tight group that, you guys rely on. You kind of all specialize in something. What's everyone's kind of role, would you say, if you were to give someone a role? Or even, like, whether if it's, like, maybe scouting or maybe just planning overall, or maybe it's something in the field while you guys are hunting, maybe the caller or, like, shot caller.
Well, I think we can assign Nolan to planning and making sure that we are on time. For example, last weekend he left us on Sunday to go with his family in Minnesota, and we were rushing on Sunday morning to set up. I'll say that, and Nolan said it himself. That would not have happened if I was here, and it wouldn't have.
We were running late this morning.
But Nolan's definitely he is a planner and logistics master, I would say.
I would agree.
The other thing I'll give Noel is safety. Noel's our safety guy. He keeps us in line. Yeah.
He's safety instructor.
So we give him a lot of crap for it, but it really is important out there.
It is, yeah.
I also have one other thing to add for Nolan.
And professional bird
He is
swatter.
professional bird swatter, ground pounder. Heads up, he's dead.
You knocked
I think he needs another one.
you knocked the bird down in the water. It's heads up. It's going down.
Hey, we did a pretty good job of that today.
Yeah, that's good.
The whole box of that Kent went to water swat.
It knocks him down. Knocks him down.
Jack, obviously, he has trailer, truck, most of the decoys.
Supplies.
Yeah, he's a supply man.
Yep, I forked over the money for a snow goose spread too, and a camera. I can be impulsive with the spending, but it usually pays off. I'm not afraid to spend it, but no, and I do a little bit of calling too, and I do my fair share of scouting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
I would say we all put in.
We all put in
time and
pretty
miles
equal
in,
effort
so.
scouting. So I don't think anybody's a designated scouter over the other. So
No.
but yeah,
What else to say for
I
us?
think
Ryan's the snack guy.
Ryan is that guy.
Ryan's snack guy.
Snack guy.
But I will say Ryan is good at finding some sneaky holes.
Yeah, Ryan's a sneaky hole guy.
Ryan's a sneaky hole guy. He's like, you call him and he's like, yeah, I'm like 5 miles back on this 2-track road. I'm looking at this beautiful flooded cornfield. No one's ever seen it before.
I wish.
But no, he found a pretty dirty little mallard hunt last year that we went in on. That was a little flooded field deal, and I don't think anybody else would have found that unless
No.
that was a sweet little spot there, but I think he's definitely a sneaky spot finder.
Dave's a pheasant guy.
Dave's in the pheasants, but
I'd say Dave's well-rounded. in all aspects.
I think Dave can come in clutch too. Dave
put. Yeah.
and honestly, spring snows. If we want to take it to spring snows,
Yeah, we got
Dave,
to bring that up eventually.
Dave shooting forward to some spring snows. Dave figured quite a bit out about migrating snows and how to get in the flight line, and he really mastered scouting snows this spring. I don't know if you want to touch on that at all a little bit.
Do we want to go to that yet or no? Work on it.
We gotta get Zach's.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. I'm kind of new to all this.
Zach?
Like last year, I hunted with them
Uh-huh.
a little bit in the early, and then my schoolwork got insane.
Zach's
So-
the new guy.
The new
Yeah,
guy.
so I like
He's
the
always the new guy.
Yeah.
He's learning. Got his
I'm
first
learning
permission
slowly.
this week, so
I
He did
Yeah.
get permission this week. So
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I started with them early season. I remember one day going out into class with all the silhouettes. Dave and I hauling all
Yep.
those silhouettes. But
in the green field.
yeah, that was
Yep.
the first time we hunted together.
it was,
we
yeah.
hunted that field again this year and shot a band
did.
out of it.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
But yeah.
There's definitely more bands in there
Oh,
because
yeah.
that field is all local birds that they band them in the town
In that
and
same area.
They come back there every year and they're always in that field. For some reason, it's always harvested. He had millet planted back in there this year. After he harvested, what did he
Yeah.
harvest?
He had Ryan there. He had Ryan there earlier.
And then it was millet cover crop, or was it
The
winter
green
wheat?
was millet.
That field has been a nice little backup
Yeah.
for both years this year. I mean, that hunt turned out. Ended up shooting 10 geese in a band. Little last minute scout, but
Got a sick tractor picture.
oh
Yeah.
there's an old red combine in that field, and we have been dying to take a picture on that
Yeah.
thing, and we finally shot him good enough to take a picture on it. But
I think you could argue our picture today may be better.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
I
we had some.
picture.
We had some.
We had some-
he's got
Yeah.
the supplies.
I hope so.
The telescope out
Maybe.
there.
Yeah, the telescope.
He was taking pictures of the moon. Before it
Yeah, I don't think I was like 60 yards from you guys when I
Yeah.
took the photo.
like, where's this guy going?
That was pretty sweet.
No, another thing in here, we're in their apartment right now, and you guys will get to see this in the cooking video that's coming up later. It'll probably come next week Tuesday. But in the video they give a little tour of the apartment, but they have a tally right next to their door going out of the permission's locked. And so who's in the lead for?
I think David right now.
No.
right?
Dave's in the lead.
Yeah.
I'm in second.
Me and Jack are
We're-
tied.
I will add I'm a quality over quantity kind of guy.
Last year you got like. All
Yeah.
Did you guys do the same thing last year too?
No.
No, we
Oh.
didn't.
No, I kept tally though. I locked 27 last year. So
Yeah.
Wow.
it definitely ramps up once we get into snows and once there's tons of feeds around and all the corn gets cut.
And hunters.
And hunting pressure
Way
just goes
down.
down. Every week it goes down. Colder it gets, later it gets, less people keep going. So it definitely is going to ramp up. But I really think that we've all done a pretty equal job of walking important feeds. Like over Labor Day weekend, me and Nolan were Ryan was with us the first day, and he had to go to a wedding, and Dave was back at home. But we
Or he was at the wedding too, right? Yeah.
yeah, he was at the
my
wedding
cabin
too.
then
But
went to the wedding.
Nolan locked a couple clutch ones for us. It's you need to have a team if you want to be successful every weekend. You got to have a group of
Especially in
guys.
college.
Somebody comes through clutch on this weekend on that Saturday night, and then same thing on following from another person on that side. It's just like people step up
Yeah.
each week and
You're
kind of
not-
like just put the team on their back for that weekend, and it's just kind of that's what's nice about it because everybody has the ability to and everybody does. So
Yeah. And when you have a competition like that, it kind of makes
Yeah,
you,
that-
makes
that
you
helps
want
too.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
keep going.
But-
So no, that's awesome that you guys do that. All right, now we can talk about snows.
All
There we
right.
go.
This snows, they stole our heart this spring. It started last fall, but this spring they kind of took over for us. So
I think
go ahead.
we got to talk about that first flock.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
What's the story? First, we got to start from the beginning. Like, at what point, who got into snows first? Or, like, did you have snows coming into?
Okay,
Like, it
so-
spread and everything?
So I was actually in between Lake Superior State and SDSU to go to school,
Okay.
and after I toured out there, I decided on SDSU, and I decided on SDSU. I was down here for a tour in the spring, and I actually got to see some snows out here, and I was sold before I even got to school. I was like, yeah, whatever degrees they got, I'll take it. I'm here for the snows. But on my way home, I built my cart up, and I threw 1,200 socks in the cart, and when I got home, I was like, I'm gonna buy these things, and my parents 2 weeks later they came in a semi. They came in a semi on pallets, and my dad's like, "There's 2 pallets out in front of the door," and I was like, "Yep, those are my snow decoys." So you bought those? How many you got in there? I was like, 1,200. Okay. So I came down here at that, and I knew I had to figure out how to hunt those things. I've hunted in North Dakota quite a bit before this, and I've never been able to hunt them, and I've always wanted to. But so that's kind of what sparked me to get into snow goose hunting. And so after I met all these guys, we got into the season, and our first snow feed came up. I think was it me and you that were
No, it was
scouting?
me and you.
Me and Dave were scouting.
I wasn't even gonna hunt the
No.
next day because I was going to pheasant hunt with my uncle at his property, and
Yep.
so I had nothing to do, so I was going scouting with Jack.
But it was first snow of the year too.
Yep.
And I got permission on this field earlier in the year. We hunted darks in there.
Yep.
Was it 2 weeks before? I feel like
It was 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. It was like I think it was Halloween weekend. We shot like I don't
It was like
It was
seven,
like-
seven or eight.
it was
like-
bunkers.
It was
They-
kind of a botch hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the snow was really, they pushed down with that cold front that we got that snow with, and I rolled back by that field just to check it, and I looked in there, and there was probably like, I don't know, 10K snows, bunch of specks, bunch of darks,
Mallards.
bunch of ducks. And I roll up to the guy's house. I was like, do you remember me? And he's like, nope, well, you can hunt it. I was like, all right, here we go. So
I remember watching like 3 trucks go.
Oh yeah, and right
by
after
us when
that,
we're
trucks were
pulling
rolling by, and we're sitting there, and I was like, "All right, here we go. We get to set the 1200 tomorrow." So we set the spread the next day, and we had some specs come over right away. We shot into some juvie specs, and then I shot that spec right there, and then I looked to the south. We all looked to the south because we could see it was probably like
There's a power line.
it was like a mile section.
Couple miles away.
Yeah, and we were like, "Are those geese?" And they started getting a little closer, and we're like, "Oh yeah, these are all snows." And we're like, "All right, these are just gonna fly over
Yeah.
us."
This
They're-
thing's 2
We
miles
thought there was
long.
no chance
And,
of all these birds.
They get over us, and I'm looking up, and every single one of them is locked. Every single one.
Mind you-
First snow flock ever. Every single one is locked.
This is your
possibly-
first hunt too, was it?
First snow
First
hunt.
snow
Or
hunt.
first hunt.
First snow
time
hunt.
setting the
First
spread.
And we're like, we got a mile-long flock locked up on us, and there's these guys hunting the pond down.
Yeah,
there's these
they-
guys hunting the pond next to us, and we could see them down there. They're just like looking at what's going on here, and we were just like we were shaking in
We
our
were
boots.
giggling.
We were
In
just
the videos. We're just
Oh,
all
oh man,
giggling.
we could show
Like,
the
it
videos.
was- it was
I'll have to show you later. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like there was like 4 layers of birds, and they were all crossing, and they kept getting lower and lower, and they were just spinning on us forever. And I don't know how many birds were in that flock, but it was complete chaos, and we were getting pooped on, and like
yeah,
they
it
just
was
kept
raining poop.
they
I
just
remember.
kept coming down, and they made a pass, and
We're like,
they were
"Do we shoot 'em?"
30, 35, 40 yards, and like we had a couple thousand like right there, and we were like,
We gotta
"Let's
shoot
do 'em."
these.
Yeah.
And little backstory, I had a Remington Versamax. I do not recommend that. It was a one-shot wonder whenever it got below 32 degrees. So we all pulled up on this group, and when we called the shot, it was like 2 seconds, all the shells were gone. I think what do we end up shooting?
We
9
shot-
out of there.
Either like 7, 8, or 9, somewhere in there. It
Yeah,
was
and that
pretty
blue
good.
came out of that flock.
Yep.
But I only got 1 shell off because my 1-shot wonder. These guys all got their 3 off.
Yeah.
But at that moment, we were like,
This is
this is a real deal.
Yeah,
This is
it was
this is what we
unreal.
want to be doing. And we were after that we had groups of snows that were circling us high, and we had groups of like 100 pintails coming, and we're like, screw the pintails, let's wait for these snows. And that's what sparked our initial interest in snow geese.
hindsight 2020. We should have been shooting those pintails because
Yeah.
we could have had
Yeah.
and mallards
There
'cause
were
we
some-
could have had a pretty
mean,
sweet.
It was still a grease hunt.
Oh, it
We
was
shot
still
specks,
awesome.
we shot ducks, we shot snows, we shot darks. We shot everything in that
Yeah.
hunt. But yeah, and then fast forward to this spring, we obviously after we got hooked on snow geese, we were going to do everything we could to try and kill them this spring, and we didn't know anything about how to kill migrators or if we could hunt feeds or what the timeline was for migration. And it was like, I don't know, it was like February, and we were getting super antsy. We were like, we just about drove to Nebraska on a whim to go and try and hunt some snows, but we decided to hold out. And the first time we hunted snows in the spring, it was me and Dave, and then 2 other dudes that we met. I don't know if you want to talk about that story a little bit.
Yeah, we met. We met him at a restaurant on like Wednesday night, and
It's a fancy restaurant. It's
they were
called
like,
Nine.
yeah. And we got to talking about hunting. I knew had known the one kid. He was in my math class or whatever. So we got to talking about hunting a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, we were planning on hunting some snow geese this weekend." He's like, "We got a couple thousand birds that are hit in an area nowhere where we've hunted, so that was kind of cool." But they're like, "Yeah, we need some decoys." And we're like, "We got them, so we'll come and hunt with you." And we ended up going down there on Friday night and staying with them, and then hunted with them the next morning, which we ended up shooting like 17 I think, which wasn't terrible, but we had a little mishap, and we got the spread all set, and it was pretty cold, still snow on the ground and stuff, and so we're like, these birds aren't gonna fly for a while, and the other guys kind of wanted to go get breakfast pizza. There was a Casey's a couple miles away, And so we all decided that it was a good idea to leave the spread at Shooting Light and go get some breakfast pizza at Casey's. And lo and behold, we get back and there's probably 4,000 snow geese.
There's
the
birds.
the bottom was landing.
There was
and
birds
the rest
standing in our
was-
decoys.
The rest was still spinning around, and we're standing at the trucks putting on our whites,
Yeah, they were
watching them spin. So
they were perched up on the
yeah,
lines.
that kind of sucked. So that was our first snow goose hunt of the spring, which is still
Yep.
pretty much winter.
And then from that we it was the beginning of March.
That
And
was like
that
before
was
spring.
February.
yeah, we
Yeah.
had a really cold spring this year, and we ended up our first actual weekend of setting up a migrator spread and getting after them was the first weekend in April. I think.
No, it was the weekend
March.
after spring.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
was
the
like-
first.
It was like
Third
the 26th or
weekend of March
27th
or
or something like that.
Yeah, it finally started to warm up, and we started to get some open water, and then we were hitting the scouting hard, and we were trying to lock feeds, but the feeds were switching every day. We were having no problem getting permission on them, but it was because they're switching every day. So we ended up with Dave's field that he had, and he's like, well, there's been migrators going over, and they've been joining the feed, and there's birds that have been hitting this field for a while. So we're like, all right, we'll end up going in this one, and we'll see how this goes for our first spring hunt. And so we set up in there, and we were worried because there's a roost. That roost was really close, but it ended up they couldn't even hear our shooting over
Yeah,
how
they're
loud
so
they
loud.
were.
So
But we was the first weekend, the weekend when we got the dirty flock off the roost.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah.
Well, we picked up like a couple singles right away in the morning, and like going into it, I think we all kind of figured like, oh,
We
we're
all
gonna
really
have
wish-
these birds maybe come off the water and decoy us, and maybe we get a shot at them, and then like maybe we see
Hopefully
some
we get
more
more,
throughout
yeah.
the day, like just by dumb luck or some sort.
I think it's important to add that we thought that the migrator thing was like completely up in the air, like probably not ever
Like
going to
you
happen.
can't really
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it. Like
We-
you need like 5,000
we were-
Well,
decoys to do
the
it.
other thing was everybody was telling us you can't decoy
Yeah.
spring
Oh,
snows.
yeah.
You can't.
Any
You have
person,
to jump shoot
any
'em.
person you talk
Yeah.
to about it, oh, you're either gonna jump them or you're gonna watch them fly out from wherever to north.
Canada.
And
Yeah.
so we like obviously didn't have like a great feeling about it, but we were like, well, we're not gonna just watch them. We're gonna go try to kill them at least. So
But also part of us was like, we're gonna do it. Like everybody's saying we can't.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah.
definitely a part like like we're just gonna go do it.
Yeah,
And-
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen, like, you see people, it's always like, on YouTube, you always look up snow geese and it's big name people like White Rock or Tony Vandemore or something like that. And everyone doesn't have experience is like, well, I'm not Tony Vandemore. I can't go out and kill snow geese migrating. And we're like, well, they can do it. Why can't we do it? And something that clicked for me in the spring was when we were trying to figure out feeds, and they weren't sticking in the spring. And every time we went out scouting, you'd sit there and it'd get to like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you'd see line after line after line,
Hundreds of
birds
just sucking down to
just-
the field.
Yeah.
they'd just be flying. And so then one night I was just like, I'm just gonna sit here and like watch where they're flying and just lock a field under like where all these birds are flying, and then worst comes to worst, that's where we're gonna hunt, and we're gonna try and pull migrators, and that's what we ended up doing all season long.
Yeah.
We got that first spin from off the roost. Like we shot a couple. Then all of a sudden we just see just a wall of birds get up. And like they were low enough off the roost to where like they didn't circle.
They decoyed
Yeah.
like
They
hawkers.
came in,
Yeah.
banked, and just came straight in. And
Yeah.
and I don't know how many guys we had. Seven maybe.
The shooting
Seven.
was
And
subpar on that group. But
we were all just like well, everybody talks like you just like dump all your shells, and like so we were just unloading into the flock, and I think we probably dropped like 10
10 or
Yeah.
12.
10 or 12.
We should have
Yeah.
shot like
We probably should
20
have
or
shot
30.
20 or 30.
They were in our face.
They were in
That
our
was
face.
probably the best group.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
that
the-
was lowest group for
The
sure.
GoPro wasn't rolling.
No.
Phones weren't
Yeah.
rolling because
We were
all
sitting there
wanted-
shaking.
Yeah.
just
We were
like-
shaking in our boots.
We
But
couldn't
But
do
that was a
anything.
really good.
kind
group.
of the dump in the extendo thing, I think it's kind of important to hit on that. We going into snow goose hunting, we were like, pull up, dump your 11 shells, and like
And just
I
watch
think
the birds
by
fall.
by the end of spring snows, we were starting to get into some smaller rainouts and like starting to drop 10, 15 birds a flock, and it was kind of a deal where we had to learn that just because you have 11 shells in your gun doesn't mean you have to blow 11 shells in 1 second.
Yeah.
Like learning that you still have to pick a bird.
Take your time,
You still
pick
have
your
to
bird.
pick your
They're
birds.
close. They're not like you hit them with a BB or two. They're gonna go down just because they're
snows
just
aren't
not
tight.
as strong. So like, there's plenty in front. And just take your time, pick out a bird, drop that one, get on another bird, another one, and then they
Then you
usually
just-
group up, and then that's when you can
Yeah.
let them rip, let a couple rip.
There's-
but like,
yeah.
for the most part, I don't think there's like there's a lot of carryover from anything you're doing in the fall to spring. I just think maybe, I don't know if that's like we misread the stigma or like if that actually is, but like we definitely went into it thinking like we just got to unload a bunch of steel into the air.
I mean, that's what all the rainouts sound like. It sounds like
Well,
everyone just pulled up and just.
don't get me wrong. There's times when you can pull up and you can't see the sky behind the geese, and
And you can just
by all
throw
means,
Yeah.
blow 200 shells into them and drop them all. But there's a lot of times you got to be a little more precise with your shooting.
Definitely.
But I think another technical thing that we learned this spring is so you can use e-collars in the spring. You can't use those in the fall. For those of you that don't know. And so I had an e-collar too, and our first time using it, we were having issues with the battery and keeping it and getting the e-collar to run. And I remember we had a couple groups of migrators come over. This was after we already had our flocks off the roost, the local birds, and the migrators were just rolling over, and we were kind of getting discouraged by it. So I think I actually took the e-collar back to the truck, didn't I? Or how did I warm that thing up?
I don't
Because
remember.
I don't remember what I did to fix it, but we finally got the thing running. And was it me and you that were picking up the cripple for that
Yeah,
first group?
we were. There was
Yeah.
one that we sailed in. There was a little pothole in the middle of the cornfield, and we went and grabbed that one. And we were like walking back from the cattails, and that right before that we had gotten e-collar rolling again, maybe that was. And we got it rolling. Jack and I were walking back, and we were like on the edge of the cattails, and we just see like over top of us, just I don't know how, it wasn't like a ton of birds. It was probably like
Couple hundred.
like maybe 200, 300 just sucking down.
Definitely
And
migrators.
Definitely, they came from a ways.
But that e-collar flipped a switch.
It is.
It's
It's
like
like
a
a light
it was,
switch.
It was a light switch for us,
unreal what
and
that does for you.
that is the pulling power that you need to kill migrators, and it showed
that
right away.
happened, and we're like, we can do this.
Yeah.
and then we just kept scratching them off the whole day.
All day.
Evening picked up a little bit at the end. Did it again that Sunday. Next weekend did it again that Saturday and Sunday. And just like
Yeah.
It's a grind.
it's
but it's worth it.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
I think our spread really
I
our
wanted to
spreads
talk about
our
our
spreads
spreads.
have evolved so much from snows don't just help you with snow goose hunting. It's not just a snow goose thing. Every spread that we
Yeah.
set
Oh,
now,
yeah.
it has taught us so much about how to set spreads to work birds right and
Yeah.
to get away with your hide a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if one of you guys wants to talk about kind of what we learned in the spring.
Well, yeah. So our first snow spread we set in the fall was kind of just.
It was
We set a glob, a really tight glob, and we sat in the glob, and then we put two arms straight out. And then it worked okay, but we had birds landing down here, and they just weren't doing it right. So then in the spring, we kind of adapted, and we really went for a more natural look of decoys, and that's what we've been doing kind of this whole
Yeah.
year. I feel like we've really been focusing on, instead, a lot of people try to get birds to, like, they set their decoys to make the birds do something. We've been setting our decoys to
just let the birds
let the
do their
birds do
thing,
what they
yeah.
want, and then we're where the birds are going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to influence them, we just let them roll.
Right.
But I would say like spring, obviously snows. They like to feed in front of all of them and just keep like cutting each other off. So we definitely use that to our advantage. We sat outside the spread by probably like
15
10,
yards.
12, 15
Yeah.
yards.
That was a huge change.
I think
That was huge because
Yeah.
then you would have them work up depending on the wind, left or right side of the spread, and they would just slowly creep, get down right in front. Obviously, they'd suck to the rotaries a little bit.
Oh.
Well, I guess they suck to the
Yeah,
rotaries
they're-
pretty well.
The rotaries are a whole
We
nother
kept
story.
we kept the rotaries on the top. They just worked up the spread, tried to get down in the front of the spread, and that was
Yeah.
8 yards away in front of us. And
Yeah, a huge thing we learned is about hiding in the spread. In the fall we tried hiding in the spread under socks, and that just was not working for us. Like
because
we
they're
were-
definitely looking for
They,
you.
well,
in
and
there.
they start picking up. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
and it looks when
It's not bad.
we were trying to set sit in the spread, it just for how we were setting it, I guess we didn't have a bunch of experience on sitting in the spread, but it's so packed, like the decoys are packed so tight when you're laying in the spread that
you're trying to
it just
underneath.
looks off compared to other stuff. So when we started laying out of the spread, you could set them as natural as possible.
Yeah.
The snow geese want to be in the front. They're not like honkers where they'll like land behind or land amongst. They want to be in the front, so there's really no problem with sitting 15 yards out of the spread because they're going to be landing
Right on us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10 yards.
And hide, and just like definitely much more cover wise, you're much more better off, and that we definitely saw it because I don't know if we didn't have birds that picked us out and gave us a stink eye or anything like that. It was like every bird we had in, we fooled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the hiding out of the spread thing has become huge for even honkers. Like I don't think this year we've really hid in the spread much at
Not
all.
really.
No,
We kind of let it play out in front of us instead of because as soon as you get involved in where they're trying where they're trying to finish or right where they're looking at, it can be tough if you don't have a perfect hide.
The other thing with the snows was when we were hiding in the spread, we were using like a quarter of our decoys trying to hide our
true.
bodies.
Yeah.
And when you take all those decoys you use trying to hide yourself and put them at the ends, at the arms, and put a group here and a group off to the side, it looks way more natural.
Yeah, and,
Yep.
and it looks way bigger too.
Yeah,
I,
you can
I
make
have,
yourself
I have some pictures
huge
of
with-
it, like our most cringy snow spread ever. I mean,
that first one, man.
it was pretty sick hunt. He killed a blue goose band out of it, but it was our spread is so tight because literally when 1,000 decoys sounds like a big snow goose spread, but in the snow goose world, 1,000 decoys is like that's what like bottom level size snow goose spread. But when you're using 300, 400 decoys to hide you, it really shrinks your
down.
spread
Yeah.
pretty quick. But in the spring we were running, I don't know how long our spreads were, like over 200
We were
yards
getting
long.
Way out
super
there.
far, super wide.
Yeah,
man.
and like we had some guys from back home that were on with us, and they're like, "You guys sure about this? Like,
Yeah.
are these birds gonna work up this? Like, that decoy is ways out there." But yeah, that definitely snow goose hunting has taught us a lot.
To even to like just duck hunting in general, just
Everything.
overall hunting,
Yeah.
hunting
Yeah, I would
birds.
say.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. If you can master hunting snow goose, it trickles down to everything else.
What's your guys' spread up to now? Is it still at that 12? Is it 1,200 or
Yeah,
you guys
right
been
about
building?
there.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been scheming. Funds are always low, but we're looking. I would not mind in the fall. You can run small spreads. Like this year, I think we're going to experiment with running like 300, 400, 500 decoys and seeing. Because I think a lot of times I've seen a lot of people get away with it, and I think it'd be worth trying. And seeing if a smaller, more natural spread that they're not seeing, especially when they're on a feed, they're so patternable that when they get ingrained in a field, they're going there, and I think it could work better. But in the spring, I've been talking about forking over for another 1,000, just so we could have a little more size, because the migrator pulling power, hunting migrating snow geese is definitely real, and it's definitely attainable, and you don't need 2,000-3,000 decoys to do it, but it definitely will
helps.
not hurt.
Yeah.
In the fall, we didn't have any motion in the spread. All we had was his socks, and then we were like, we need something, because every feed you look at or watch, there's never not like birds flying around, moving around. Snow geese are always
Very
jumping
active
here,
birds.
jumping there. So we're like, we need motion, so we each got a rotary, and then he's got a couple more flyers, and that has seemed to help a lot. They almost decoy like ducks onto a rotary.
yeah.
Like ducks decoying onto a mojo, they'll decoy like that onto a rotary or a flyer or something.
Especially juvies, like we've seen juvies, like ours have 4 arms on them. We've seen juvies like go in between. Like,
Yeah.
they like them. But yeah, that's our snow goose hunting. We're definitely still not
We got a lot-
we're not
we got a lot.
seasoned
We
veterans
got a
yet,
lot to
but
learn.
I think we got some stuff to look forward to this fall.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
killing them in feeds. So
Yep.
Now I've only been on one snow goose hunt, with a spread and everything, and I think we got 20 or 30 some.
Okay.
But yeah, it was you're scraping them, trying to get ones or twos here and there. And got to be a long day
Yep.
out there. But now I'm hoping this spring to do some more snow goose hunting and and hopefully do some other things. But
We'll
gotta-
be here.
gotta work on a few things. So maybe we'll just follow the geese all the way north,
There you
coming
go.
back in the spring.
Yeah. Yep.
But let's talk about what's the game plan. So yeah, we went hunting this morning. So that video will be out in a couple days from this podcast. And then let's talk about the second hunt. What can the viewers expect? What's gonna be
So-
You want
coming?
to talk about it?
Yeah, I got permission on this field on Wednesday. Me and Zach saw it when we were scouting Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday, a week ago from today, when we were coming back, and we saw it, and there's like 100 mallards in it. They were working the field, and we drove by it, and we were like, oh, it's Sunday, like we could lock it, but they'll probably move by next weekend, so we didn't. We knew the farmer, and we figured we could always come back to it. So then Wednesday when I went out scouting, I went back and looked at it, and they were still in there, so drove to the farmer's place, got permission for Sunday, just for one day, and then went out Friday morning to check if they were in there to see if it was an option for this morning, and there was just a few groups of birds working the field, so we kind of got uneasy about it. But then when we went back tonight, there was, what would you say?
There was a couple hundred in there.
Yeah, a couple hundred.
And the woodies started piling in right at the end. The mallards were in there earlier, but I think there's definitely 200-300 birds in there. But the roost location is right for sure, and they've definitely been ingrained in that field for a while. But it's just going to be a matter of them showing
coming
tomorrow.
right.
But
Yeah.
ducks in the field, I'm not going to lie. If they're coming, they're coming. It doesn't matter if you're in purple sleeping bags. Like they're going to land on you, and you're going to shoot them close. But
You just gotta be in your blind. You gotta be ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all it is. A matter of them showing or not. But it's
Hopefully they don't
definitely
all come at once.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
But
we'll get a
They
nice.
were trickling in pretty small groups tonight.
Yeah.
Really.
That happens. It's gonna be good.
What's our plan for spread? And we got a south wind.
South wind. So it's kind of the same as it was tonight.
It's got
Yeah.
a nice.
They
high,
were-
there's a nice high.
They were
point.
feeding. They're feeding to the south edge of the field. They're feeding into the wind like they normally would. So the topography of the field, it kind of goes. There's a big hill on the east side, right? And it
Yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
it
Slopes
drops.
in.
It slopes down, and they started down on the slope and fed up the hill. But I probably wouldn't mind setting up with a little more elevation visibility
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah,
I don't know
that
what you
would be
guys are
good.
thinking on that, but
We don't want to be down where they
Yeah.
started.
and spread wise, we killed ducks in the field over goose silos. You just need visibility, and the biggest thing is the mojos in the field. So we're gonna have 3 spinning wings out tomorrow probably
Yeah.
to start, and we'll be hiding out of the spread and just running a real tight goose silo spread with
Probably rip what 6 to 8 dozen
Yeah,
silos.
somewhere
Just
in
see
there.
how it looks.
nothing
and-
nothing crazy, pretty low key, and it's a silage field, so we'll be hiding in grass. That's kind of been our go-to in the silage.
Maybe we'll get a goose. That'd
Yeah.
be nice. That would
And
not-
There's
snows
geese
nearby.
there were snows in the
3
field over,
snows, 2 miles away.
but yeah, we checked that field tonight, and that was kind of
Had some geese,
But-
but
Yeah.
roosts are close.
Yeah,
That's not
but
really a great.
things. This weekend, things have really been changing on us quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of variables that have gone into this weekend, and this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a tough weekend because we still have a lot of local birds around, and we definitely have had some cold fronts, but this time of year with pressure combined with duck over being last weekend, it definitely causes for a lot of variables to go into these hunts, but
Yep.
we're making it work the best we can. So
Yeah, early October, I feel like nationwide, there's kind of that's a lull.
yeah,
Yeah.
little
Stale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is some tough hunting and just kind of just goes uphill from
Yeah,
from here,
like we're
so.
saying, I think we're gonna get a really nice cold front this week. Hopefully that puts us in a really good position.
It's not like we did bad this
No,
morning either.
no.
We're acting like
We're greedy.
we're acting
Yeah.
like we had a subpar morning, but we shot 30 ducks this morning. So it's
You're just analyzing.
yeah,
You're
we're-
analyzing.
we always
What we expected
I think-
versus what we
yeah.
got was.
I think the best thing out of our group is like each and every one of us is after a hunt we're always thinking, even if it's the best hunt we've had in the year, we're always thinking about what we could have done better and
Yeah.
what we changed and what we learned. And if you're not hunting if you're not learning, every hunt you're learning something new. Every day is different. So
I got to turn the attention on to Zach on the end. Zach, you said early in the podcast you're fairly new to the waterfowl space.
Yeah.
After now listening to these guys for the last 45 minutes, What are your thoughts on all this? And even, what do you think?
I don't know. I've honestly learned a lot, even just from them in general. Just them talking a lot, their knowledge and wisdom. It like really shows. So I don't know. There's a lot for me to learn still. So looking forward to that. But I don't know. They're just a great group of guys that like to go out and bang birds. So I mean, any knowledge I can learn from them, I'll take it. So
For sure.
yeah.
What's your favorite part of just the whole, on waterfowl?
Oh, I don't know. I just fellowship. Getting up, going out with the guys in the morning, it's always a great thing. But then, I don't know, just shooting the gun too, just that feeling.
Yeah.
I shot trap all the way, or starting in middle school through some high school. But
Okay.
yeah.
Did you grow up big game hunt, like whitetail and stuff? And
Honestly, I grew up pheasant hunting.
pheasant? Okay, so you did. We're a wing shooter and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I never got into the waterfowl game until Ryan and Parker in high school. Well, it was like they took me on a youth hunt.
Yep.
They were both 18. I was 17.
2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, going out in the kayak and my little 20 gauge shotgun. It was great, but yeah, ever since then it's been a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shot one Woody on that hunt.
Yeah,
And it was.
yeah.
We were
Yeah.
Minnesota. It's like you're hunting. If you're hunting 5 feet of water, that's pretty shallow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we were standing in cattails on. There is pretty much a bog.
It was
Yeah.
floating.
And
by.
like if you make a wrong step and you fall through, like you could die.
See you later.
And the one bird that Zach shot, he shot and it was flying backwards over the cattails. Blink, shot it. I'm like, oh boy, we're not gonna do that. We're not. If we find that, it's a miracle. And ended up finding
Yeah.
it.
That was something.
That
was.
was.
Well, I think we're approaching an hour. To kind of finish up the podcast here with any advice that you might have for the listeners out there.
I think
Go like college grinders you're talking, or just
College grinders, you
advice.
can call it, or just straight up hunting, or just anything that you think that someone might be able to take away from this podcast.
I think the biggest thing that I found out is when I was younger, I always thought that there's guys that were killing them because they're better callers than me, they have a bigger spread than me. But when it boils down to it, is 100% getting a group of guys together and putting on miles. If you can be squawking on the goose call, but if you're on a 300 bird goose feed that you've been watching for a week, they're gonna do it, and it doesn't matter. You need to get a group of guys together, and you got to coordinate it, and you got to scout. I think that's the name of the game, and that's what it's gonna take to kill them.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I'll build off that. I'd say that anyone that is like from an area that it's not the best duck hunting area. If you're from Minneapolis, Minnesota, like I remember when we were juniors and we were sitting in English class, I would be watching like snow goose hunting videos, and I was like, wow, like
I'm never gonna.
I'll
do
probably
that.
never experience this. And 2 years later, we're talking about killing these, and we're sitting here with Campus Waterfowl on a podcast. Like,
It's pretty surreal.
even if you're not from an area where it's like,
Feasible.
where it's feasible, you don't know what's gonna happen. You can make it happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you want to make it happen, you can do it. That's for sure.
I would say, obviously, reiterate what Jack said. Like, just put miles on. Like, you're not gonna know unless you go out there and see it for yourself. Just keep at it. Keep putting miles on. And I would say the other big thing too is just like ask questions. Like,
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they know. Like, they have it all figured out until they get shut out by the birds, and the birds go 250 yards away and shortstop them, or like, I just think like you don't know, you know a lot less than you think you do, and I just like ask questions, be observant, and obviously I think we're pretty lucky for what we have. So just like don't take anything for granted, because like I don't know, it's pretty cool what we got, and not many other people get to experience it. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
good.
I'm lost. Yeah, I don't have anything else now. It's time to go vertical.
Horizontal.
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 Oh boy.
That's how
Dave's
tired he is.
well, we
Yep,
gotta
so
leave
good.
in about 4 hours,
Do I get?
4.5 hours.
Are we, wait, what time?
Uh,
That's
Because that'll depend on when I get up.
3
to
hours and
drive
45
here.
minutes.
Yeah.
Well, what time? 4:15.
Leave at 4:15.
Leave at 4:15.
I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
All right.
That'll do.
Try to be a little earlier for
Better
you
than
today.
sleeping in the bottom of the duck boat.
Yeah. Yeah, throw back to Auburn, sleeping in the boat.
Yep.
But no, it's all part of it. So there's students around the country that are doing this, and they're all doing their own little things. You guys do things different here than even guys up in North Dakota might do things, or especially guys down south, what they're doing, how they're hunting, and just the routines. But at the end of the day, we're all waterfowl hunters. We love doing. We all go out there kind of for the same reasons. So, and then it doesn't take long to strike up. It's super easy to strike up a conversation amongst waterfowl hunters and be friends within 10 minutes. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, being in this sport and being able to do this and share these experiences and stories with everybody.
Definitely.
So, but I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Campus Waterfowl Podcast. I appreciate everyone tuning in to the episode. I hope you guys were able to learn a thing or two about these guys, their stories, and then a lot about snow goose hunting that you guys can take. And maybe get on a hunt, or try to find someone that you can hunt with and ask them some questions, or maybe if you guys have been on the edge about getting a spread, or you want to continue building a spread, put it to use this fall and this upcoming spring. But that's going to do it here for this podcast. Next 2 weeks from now, I will be at Michigan State. So that'll be the south zone of Michigan. Duck opener, I believe, is what will be happening there. So see you guys in the next episode.